winning were slim. IBB, Babangida maintained a low profile. In 2007, Babangida had corrective surgery. He is considered a foremost elder statesman and has called for a generational shift in leadership to allow for a new crop of leaders to replace the 1966 military class. Wow, so much, so much. Barrister, I mean, you had all of these histories and all of these talks about Babangida and all. Let's start. What do you have to say in all of this, history, all of this biography about IBB?
Thank you very much. Let me first of all say that if you read the book itself, My Journey in Service, written by the former president, Babangida, you will find that Gowon wrote the foreword, and I want to quote the foreword, the fourth part of it. He titled it "The Courage to Look Back." That's the title of that foreword in the book, "The Courage to Look Back." I think what has happened to these few days is monumental and significant in the history of Nigeria because of the kind of personality that IBB is and the history of this country. IBB is one of the military, even for those who are his seniors. In the area of military intelligence, in the area of troop mobilization, in the area of artillery and armor corps. Okay, so you find that as an officer, he was heading for stardom very early, even in his professional life. And this, at the time they were in charge of the military, at the time they were actors in the military, many of them were very young at that age, when they were already thrown into leadership by circumstance. And so a lot of things played out in the history of this country, which perhaps there's a need to look back. That's why I actually agree with that title, "The Courage to Look Back." A lot of things that happened in this country, and Babangida has been one of the persons that had been central. If you are going to talk about the military, the development of military governance in Nigeria, and the interplay of power and politics in the military. And he's a man that a lot of people love to hate. Okay, much as those who love him loved issues around the personality of this great Nigerian. Unfortunately, Babangida had the opportunity to be one of the greatest leaders that this country has ever produced. But I think in a lot of ways, if you ask me my own view, there were a lot of errors, a lot of mistakes that he made in the course of his journey, which is almost like an obstacle to his general acceptance by many of Nigerians.
So what mistake did you ascribe?
Okay, of course, his involvement in so many coups, and then the ruthlessness of his government when he was in power. Okay, the repression of forces that were seen as contrary or opposite to his government or to the military government at that time. And then, of course, the economy, the way he handled the economy of the country at that time, there were great controversies surrounding it. And if you remember also, the issue of the Delegiwa matter, these were challenges that he faced. The SAP crisis and the killing of many people during the SAP. These were some of the crises that plagued his government, which had made him alienated from the generality of Nigerians. But if you really look at Babangida as a person, Babangida is a great leader, no doubt about it. He's one of the outstanding leaders that this country has ever produced. Very visionary and very sociable. Somebody who is always willing to connect. Even when he was in the military, there were so many civilians that were close to him. And he was a detribalized Nigerian, unlike some of our other leaders. Okay, Babangida is somebody who connects from the north to the south, from the east to the west. So that makes that he had done, even though it's coming far too late in the history of this country, but it is still needed. A lot of people had waited for this memoir, that he has brought out, to see his own side of the story, so that there can be a counterbalancing of history in such a way that the truth itself can be established.
All right, talking about praising IBB, a lot of former presidents, talking Jonathan, Gowons, and the likes, heap praises on IBB. Even, Tinubu said yesterday that he challenged IBB on how he failed to make history. Let's listen to the voices of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and also listen to the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, and Gowon, what they said about IBB. Please stay with us.
That you had an opportunity to make history that day, and you failed to do it. You were in office. You recalled we were elected. You kept on postponing the inauguration. First, you summoned us to the International Conference Center. I was not expecting to make any comment. I was just listening in my own radical manner that this man will not inaugurate us again. But before we returned to the hotel, the hotel was locked. No key. But when I was summoned by Daily Cole to make a remark, I confronted you. That you had an opportunity to make history that day, and you failed to do it. Why not inaugurate us? Why are you calling us back and postponing the inauguration day? They thought I will end up in jail. You came out right at the end of the remark. You shook me. I can't forget that picture. You said, you are courageous. That an inspiration that is so impactful in my own life, just for what you are. The few hours to set a day like this, put it together, for you, you deserve it.
Thank you so much. Mr. President, thank you for coming to personally preside over this ceremony. His Excellency, our leader, General Dr. Yakubu Gowon, and President Babangida that brought us here, thank you for today's ceremony. And let me appreciate Abdusalami Abubakar and the wife. And let me appreciate the keynote speaker, the past president of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you for being here. And our good friend, Ernest Baikoroma, the past president of Sierra Leone. And let me appreciate the three vice presidents are here with us, a very senior Nigerians serving in government, and have served before, the captains of industry. I don't want to take too much of your time. Today is a special day, and some of you will be surprised why I should stand up. You know, in the committee of the president, I am the most junior. So I'm only waiting when President Tinubu will finish serving. So that when we go for a kind of state meeting, I'll get somebody that will sit by my left. So thank you. Today is a great day. Much of your time. President Babangida brought us today to celebrate his history of service in the launch of a book, A Journey in Service, and also to launch his presidential library. These are two noble things. We've not read the book, so just like in those days when they were selling drink, they say liquid content only. So we can talk about the bottle, not the liquid content. So Abraham Babangida, we all know, has been one of the most charismatic leaders in this country. He's somebody that up to date, people go as if they are going on pilgrimage to consult him. We thank God for giving you that grace and the wisdom to continue to mentor people. your leadership, Nigerians know you contributed significantly in terms of the infrastructural development of the country and the social mobilization. We cannot write the history of Nigeria without dedicating a reasonable part to your service as the President of Nigeria. You've done well. And of course, we are launching his memoir today. It's a significant document. The keynote speaker mentioned that, so I don't need to emphasize. Every president makes history. And other key historical factors make history, but they don't contribute to the documentation. And if you contribute to the documentation of the history, it makes your history stronger, more relevant, and more actual. I also hope that one day I will do my own. But I'm waiting for my seniors that are here before I will think about my own. So today you are helping us, and somehow the concept of presidential library comes from the United States system. When I left office, the first 6 months, I toured America and I visited most of the presidential libraries there. And presidential libraries are seen as federal government assets. So, Mr. President, you need to set up a department in the Secretary of Government Office. If any scholar wants to know what happened at a segment of history, it goes to these presidential libraries. So the American government helped in the management of the presidential library. That's why all American presidents have presidential libraries, which I visited quite a number of them. And I'm happy that in Nigeria today, we are launching the second one. Obasanjo has built his own, and now President Babangida is launching his own. We will all be going there from time to time to read about the history of Nigeria. So thank you. Then, so it is key, the significance of the memoir to tell our history. The presidential library is a custodian of this history. And I have some little advantage of the size of the pocket should generously contribute to the development of this library.
I mean, you've heard it all from the two remark, Barrister Deji. I mean, let's take your remark on this too. You heard from Tinubu there, talking about the inauguration, talking about, I mean, the fear of arrest and not being in jail. And then you heard from Jonathan too, you know, how important it is to make history stronger, you know. So all of this, what's your remark?
Well, much as I've said earlier on, Babangida made history in this country. He made history. He stood at an interregnum where there is transition from the military to the civilian regime, even though there were so many delays, just like you have observed from what Tinubu was trying to say there. There were so many obstacles, so many frustrations at a point. In fact, it was as if it was 33 billion at that time, US dollars, on that same transition. And the dragging of feet at that time was what made a lot of people to be apprehensive, whether or not he was serious about handing over power to the civilian regime. And so that was an albatross for him. That was an albatross. A lot of people did not see his sincerity in transmission of power to the civilian. And that issue is still unresolved till today, because there are still some people who hate him for that.
For transition of power.
Yes, for the way he went about that transition exercise and all of that. A lot of lives were lost in the course of that transition period. A lot of politicians, as a former president of Nigeria, and all of that, how charismatic and all of that. But to me, Babangida was a man who squandered his goodwill with the Nigerian people deliberately. Like I said earlier on, he will have been one of the most dynamic and great leader that this country will have respected. But a lot of Nigerians still have axe to grind with him.
All right. Talking about Nigerians, so we'll definitely open the phone lines so we can take your comments or your observations in all of this conversation about the former president, General Ibrahim. Badamasi Babangida. Let's listen to General Gowon and also the man celebrating himself. Let's listen to them.
My colleagues, former heads of state, President Ado, ladies and gentlemen, General Ibrahim Babangida, I hope I'm part of those who interested you to join the army early 60. When I visited your school, to interest your school to see if you can join the army. And your headmaster at that time, or head of school at that time, was one famous teacher called Mr. Onimole. And I think there are about 10 of you who in the end decided to join the army. I think, am I right? About 10 of you? And I think 15. My goodness. And at least I know 10 of you later joined the army or the Air Force or whatever it is. And of course, years later, am I right to say that General Abdul Salam was also part of you? So there you are. Those 10 made, and those 15 of you, 10 of you made it in the end. And I feel, that I interested you in the army. You joined the army and you served very, very well. You served very, very well. And it got to the stage whereby at the end of the war, my youngest brother, late Isaiah, came and told me about this, his commander. Very good leader, very good commander, very courageous, brave, and that he was really unexceptional. He spoke well of you. It made me feel, well, this is certainly a young man that I would like to come, to work with me. And I thought, yes, I will probably make him my ADC. Well, that was, if I'm in the hope. That event happened, and I was given my marching orders out of officer. Went on later on. I don't know whether he was part of those who gave me the marching order. An ADC. He became a head of state as well, a boss of bosses. And honestly, and I know the amount of work you have done. And over the years, various events happened, and I learned that you are the one who made sure that Dimka either escaped rather than be arrested. And of course, yes, the accusation of me being being the one who encouraged Dimka to do that. Me, who had been trying all the time to make sure that other coups do not take place in Nigeria, and made sure that our army remained very loyal to the government of the day, and that was how. And to ensure that the government of the day continues. Unfortunately, that did not happen until the civilian government at the time, the government of the time decided that yes, let the military take over until they can restore loyalty and discipline. And for that reason, what I had wanted to do, that if a coup ever took place in Nigeria, I hope, and the status quo, that meant return the government.
As the leader of the military administration, I accept full responsibility for all decisions taken under my watch. Mistakes, oversights, and missteps happen in quick succession. But I say in my book, in all matters we acted in the supreme national interest so that Nigeria could survive. Our nation's march to democracy was interrupted, a fact that I deeply regret, but Nigeria survived and democracy is still alive, a testament to our resilience and commitment to progress. This book is part of my personal story of that encounter with national history. I did not travel alone. I undertook the challenging work of leadership in the company of many patriots. Many are still here, while others have gone the way of all the flesh. I cannot name all our allies and fellow travelers, but let me acknowledge the contributions of men like late Augustus Ihomu, Commodore Ebitu Ukiwe, General Ike Nwachukwu, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, Dr. Kalu Idika Kalu, Dr. Tunji Olabunju, Chief Olufalaye Nahu Kabesi, the late Professor Oje Tunji Aboyade. By the way, he was an outstanding man. The late Alhaji Rilwanu Lukman, the late Professor Humphrey Umosu, the late Professor Omo West, the late Professor Babatunde Papumwa, the late Professor Olikoye Ramsankuti, the late Dr. Shatima Mustafa, the late Alhaji Bunu Sharif Musa, the late Rear Admiral Patrick Koshoni, Lieutenant General Alani Akinyade, General Ali Gusau, General Haliru Akilu, the former Senate President Brigadier David Mack, Brigadier General Tunde Ogweha, Colonel Abubakar Nengiwa Umar, the late UK Bello, the late General Nuhu Gomaji, Colonel Sambo Desuki, and a whole list of prominent colleagues and friends of all of them, fellow travelers in the challenging work of leadership.
All right, yes, you've heard it all from the military president talking about Gowon and also IBB. Barrister, I saw your gestures there, you know, how you almost raised goosebumps. The names when IBB was mentioning all those names. You know, even Falaye has even come out to say that, well, it's his comment, IBB's comment is not new to him. And then the likes of David Mack also. So all of this, and then coming from Gowon, who talked about bringing IBB to the military and also 10 and others. But before I come to your comment, quickly, let me open the phone lines. So Nigerians, you can be part of this conversation. 0705 890 4927 0705 890 4927 or 0903 714 2798 0903 714 2798. Call us and let's hear from you. Let's hear your comment in all of this conversation. Also, send us message on WhatsApp 0705 690 0927 0705 690 0927. Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. We're fine. Please, can you turn down the volume on your radio set so we can hear you properly?
No problem. No problem. Very interesting history. And as a young man growing up in Nigeria,
Okay.
they were, and very close up because I was once in the barracks because my elder brother was there and I stayed with him in the barracks. So I know the workings of the ministry. But there are two major questions that we need to answer.
Okay.
One, why did he do it? Yes, I'm talking about the June 12th now.
Okay.
Yes, to me, it is not new that I take responsibility. But why did he do it? And two, who are those behind the death of MKO Abiola? Because immediately Abiola died, they, IBB and his colleagues, formed the PDP and brought up Olusegun Obasanjo. Those two major questions, they are not answered. So, it's like a situation, they can't do me anything. Let me just accept and let everything that's just what I see. I love IBB as a man, as a leader. You understand? I love him because he's dynamic, he's charismatic. You can fool some people sometimes. You can't fool all the people all the time. You understand? Look at it. Talked about Ogbeha. I want my head of the president and head of state, Buhari. Do you think it was it's intentional? Let me just tell you, prejudice. If you are not careful, you will make some silly mistakes. But this medicine after that, because the death of Abiola, when Abu Salami came, why couldn't they just reinstate Abiola if you really want to correct history? Thank God. The thing I really love in our President Buhari, the president, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, he will always tell you the truth, no matter whose horse is God. This is an occasion to tell the world. And he told him directly, you have opportunity to make history. Why are you dragging you?
All right.
So calling to tell the world this is, to me, it's too late. And it does not matter to me.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very, very much for that. Yes, you keep your call coming in 0705 890 4927. 0705 890 4927 or 0903 0903 714 2798. 0903 714 2798. Don't forget also you can send us messages on WhatsApp 0705 690 0927. All right, Barrister, you're trying to make a remark before.
Yes, I was about saying that there are so many unanswered, just like what the speaker said, so many unanswered questions about IBB and his watch. All those things that happened during his watch, under his watch. We had so many unresolved killings, impunities during his regime. And all of that put together. For instance, you remember the Vatsa case.
Yeah.
Vatsa happens to be another astute, dynamic, and charismatic leader that the military produced. A great writer, a poet, one of the best minds that the military, and a first-class soldier, and a very close friend of Babangida himself. And how Babangida could muster that courage to kill his own friend. It's an issue that a lot of Nigerians are asking questions over. That matter is unresolved. Then the death of Delegiwa, the Pasu bomb, all the issues that were raised in those years, all the litigation over it, the involvement of military intelligence and Akilu and Togun in all those years, how Chief Gani Fahimi fought all those issues to the last of his breath.
Let's pick this
and they are unresolved.
Hello, good morning. Good morning.
My name is Robinson, a.k.a. Nokia.
All right, Robinson, from where, please?
I'm calling from Surulere.
Please make your comments.
All right. So I've been listening conversation, please. And this matter is very, very interesting. The matter whereby all the thank God that they put up for not to out. I was let them tell us the truth of things that were happening then, because up to today they are still hiding some things from us. In my life, one on one. Understand, when he came to our school, then in my state. So he's a nice man, but I know there are people that were behind those things. It wasn't only him. So let them point out something and sort out some issues, because those are the issues that is still causing problem in Nigeria today. That history, those histories are still causing problems today in Nigeria. So please, they should see how they can bring out some justice and let some kind things be settled. So that's just what I have to contribute this morning, Sha.
All right, thank you very much for that. I mean, Barrister,
Yes,
this man,
the courage, yes, the courage to look back, like I said earlier on. That's the comment of Gwan in the book,
Yes.
the title of the foreword of that book. And I think that courage is what Nigeria needs at this time, even though there are many people who don't want to look at what has happened. All right? And the President Babangida himself, probably for many years, never wanted to talk about the past. Time to answer.
Well, the son of
Then also
Abiola came out to appreciate that. Well, he's happy that finally he's been.
Yes, I was coming to that issue. I was coming to that issue.
Okay.
That for the first time, at least, we give this to IBB, that for the first time he has admitted that the annulment of June 12th and the issue of that, all those issues that surrounds the issue of June 12th, that is a regrettable issue. You know, and all of over the years, he has said he had no regret. Every time there had been so many interviews in the past where he had been asked concerning the death of MK Abiola and the June 12th, and he would say he has no regret, and all of that. That infuriated a lot of Nigerians. I was one of those. As much as I love IBB, it was one of those issues I had against him as a person. How can you say you don't have a regret about an error, a patent error, a mistake that you made? The hallmark of a leader is to admit his mistake and say, look, and explain it the way it should be explained. They were all young men at that time, no doubt. They were all in the process of the interplay of power, the use of power, and all of that. And Nigeria was at a nascent stage in its own history at that time. So they were prone to make mistakes.
All right,
okay.
Let's
but you don't stick to those mistakes.
All right. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, Super FM.
Yes, please make your comment. What's your name? All right, Olukoya from where?
Yeah, I'd like to contribute to the issue that is being discussed.
Where are you calling from, please?
I listened to the former military president saying that decisions were taken to save Nigeria. That Nigeria was saved. I don't know if the annulment had not happened, whether Nigeria would have collapsed. These are rhetoric. Great as he was, and he still is, Babangida drew this country backwards. That's just the truth. A lot of rhetoric, a lot of power, and then you wedge it down yourself. Well, thank God he's still alive to make some recount, but there are still a lot of hidden truths. Why was June 12th annulled? How come the death of Abiola? So
very important.
Making the line then that since Abacha was dead, Abiola must not live in the hierarchy and the clique of the military ruling class there in AFRC. Why all those? So thank you very much.
All right, thank you very, very much. Barrister, let me take you down. I mean, in all of this thing, I mean, over the 8 years that Babangida, ruled. I mean, so many things were done. It talked about the Abuja Suleja road. Talked about the NNPC depot in Suleja.
A lot of infrastructure.
Talked about NAFDAC. I mean,
MAM's house.
Yes, it did NDLEA also.
Yes,
he created the NDLEA.
Yes.
He created the police academy in Udili.
Yes.
That's in 1987.
Yes.
He created the Kano Express Road. I mean, even our third mainland bridge. In Lagos.
Yes.
He is the one who did it. The Katsina International Airport. It was done by him. The National Nomadic Education, Abuja International Airport also, it was done by him. University of Abuja,
Yes,
also was being
he
done by
established that, yes.
Babangida. Federal University of Agriculture, Ondo, was established by him. Federal University of Agriculture, Benue, was also established by him. Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, was also established by him. Bagwada Dam Kano was done by him. Federal Secretariat in Kaduna was also
If you continue
done by
to
him.
count, the list is endless.
I mean,
For
so many,
Babangida,
so many.
no doubt
Mina
about it.
Township roads and
Yes.
drainages was done by over 200 more records. So I mean, but it seems to be like a lot of people are not looking at.
yes,
those
it's like I said
issues.
earlier on, it's a greatness that was shut down by the man himself. You had a
So
great.
is it a thing of this slang? They say you use your hand to do yourself.
Exactly, just like what that last speaker said. Babangida was in a project that was great, only to be cut down by itself. Like building a house and then suddenly it collapsed. That's what happened to him. Now Babangida was if you look at infrastructure, both federal, state, there was no part of Nigeria that didn't benefit in terms of infrastructure from the regime of General Babangida at that time. All right, and Babangida has no one knack. He made use of experts, people who were professors, people who were knowledgeable in those areas where they are knowledgeable. Unlike what we have now, where the square pegs is being put in round holes. It was not so with Babangida. Babangida made use of men who could deliver at that time. And so a lot of people were looking at a golden age for the country. And the transition was, if Babangida had handed over power at that time, today, Nigerians and Africa will be praising Nigeria for what it has achieved. Unfortunately, just like the last speaker said, we were thrown back.
About that?
Yeah, because at that time, we were moving towards, he has set the platform for national development, for national integration, for unity. And he himself was a detribalized Nigerian. He was somebody to a point of integration. And the transition, the June 12 election, was to be the cul-de-sac that will have projected the trajectory of Nigeria to a higher level. And the man who won that election happens to be even his own friend. Even his own close friend.
Talking about Abiola?
Yes, MK Abiola. So what can progress beyond where he has taken it? But I think along the line, impunity setting, pride setting, personal agendas, political agendas set into it, and self-interest came into it. And all of that were the things that made them to commit the blunder that they did. The biggest blunder that IBB committed was that annulment. Second, of course, maybe you will say, is the death of MK Abiola in cell. It's still unexplainable what happened. Okay, just like the Vassas case, just like the Deleguas case, just like any other major cases that we had, unresolved murder, unresolved cases of death and all of that, and until some of these things are openly discussed and trashed out and apologies made where it is necessary.
But I mean, he said that yesterday that he regretted and all for the...
Well, commendably, he admitted for the first time that Abiola won that election.
So what more?
So that annulment, it invalidates that annulment. That admission invalidates the annulment.
Is there anything that can be done, after the announcement?
Yes, as we can say, Buhari actually tried to reinstate MK Abiola as one of the past presidents of this country on the basis of truth and fact that the man won an election. Okay, and we need to put it in the line of our history as a nation that man MK Abiola, I was part of the June 12 struggle. I knew how much of my friends that died in the course of that struggle at that time. And unfortunately, when we were doing that struggle, the military saw some of us as the enemy of the nation. Okay, whereas what we're agitating for was for this nation to develop, for democracy, for the civil rights of Nigerians, to ensure that Nigeria does not get to the abysmal that we are in now.
It's one thing that also the president also fought for too. I mean, President Bola Tinubu also, I think one thing he also fought for too was democracy. Okay, let's go to our WhatsApp line. Good morning, crew. Olamileko from Lagos. There is a saying, righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach to every nation. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people mourn. Also, the evil that men do lives after them. IBB's confession now is medicine after death. 32 years later, he has bred Nigerians to this nightmare and the same government. He will, he said he will be arrested and jailed for annulling a free and fair election. But the paradise country where anything goes, nothing will happen. Also, you see basically corrupt people come and grace the occasion. All of this. Is it possible? I mean, he said being arrested and being jailed after this confession. Is that...
You see, that's not the path. That shouldn't be the path Nigeria should go.
I mean, yeah.
We should follow the path of truth.
Yes.
And I must commend the former president.
But in the same country...
Yes.
Are there repercussions for this pronouncement?
For which pronouncement?
Him saying the election was annulled. Said he regrets...
You know, when you are in power, as at the time they were in power, they did it in the course of their function. Okay? So you cannot really hold them. Just like former presidents are immune, you know, for the actions they take in the course of governance.
Yeah.
So you cannot say, let him come and face the music or whatever at this time. No. But for national healing.
But we see things like this happening. I mean, don't forget,
if you have to do that, if Nigeria decides to go do that, the Truth and Reconciliation, National Truth and Reconciliation panel, and all. We had one, the Oputa panel, that the MK Abiola actually won that election, admittedly by him. And also, for the first time, I want to commend the president for having that courage at this time. You know, to own up and say we were wrong.
Are there benefits to this announcement, to this acceptance?
The judiciary.
I mean, judicially, constitutionally, are there benefits to this acceptance? Maybe to the family or...
Well, that will not be for the government, the present government, to relieve the family of Chief MK Abiola and also the family of Mama Vatsa, General Mama Vatsa. Some of these people have gone through so much torture, so much tension over the years as a result of what happened to their breadwinner, you know. And we cannot keep some of these things under the ground. The Delegiwa family too. Some of these actions